Let's get started with our first news story. Francis Ngannou has finally broken his silence on the tragic motorcycle accident he was involved in last month, an incident that has weighed heavily not only on him, but also on fans and the wider MMA community. The accident, which took place in Cameroon, resulted in the heartbreaking death of a young woman. According to multiple local news outlets, Francis was riding the motorcycle that struck the woman. What followed was a moment that would test anyone's character. Instead of fleeing or trying to avoid responsibility, Francis acted swiftly and compassionately. He personally transported the woman to the hospital, doing everything in his power to ensure she received immediate medical attention. He didn't stop there. He also covered all of her medical expenses, demonstrating a level of responsibility and empathy that goes far beyond what many would expect in such a difficult and high-pressure moment. Despite all his efforts and the best efforts of the medical team, the woman tragically passed away from her injuries. It was a devastating outcome, and one that Francis has not taken lightly. After remaining silent for several weeks as the situation developed, Francis recently released a heartfelt public statement through TMZ Sports. His words reflected the deep emotional toll this incident has taken on him, as well as his sincere desire to be there for the grieving family. In the statement he said, "From the very beginning, I have been by the family's side, offering support, comfort, and my deepest condolences. During this time, I've met with them privately to share their grief, and I will continue to stand with them every step of the way. I carry their pain with me, and my unwavering thoughts and support remain with them as they face this heartbreaking loss." These words weren't just for public relations, they came from a place of deep sorrow and humanity. It's not often we see someone in the public eye take such full accountability and stand so close to the pain of a situation like this. Many celebrities and athletes try to distance themselves from tragedy, but Francis chose a different path. He didn't just take financial responsibility, he took emotional responsibility too. His actions remind people that at the end of the day, no matter how strong or famous someone may be, they are still human, capable of empathy, regret, and growth. This event is sure to remain a significant part of Francis's personal journey, and it may even influence how he approaches life and his career moving forward. Moments like this can redefine people, forcing them to reevaluate what truly matters and where they want to go from here. Whether he chooses to speak more about this in future interviews or keeps his grieving process private, one thing is clear: this was not just a headline to him, it was a life-altering event. Meanwhile, as this serious chapter unfolds for Francis, other names in the MMA world continue to make headlines for different reasons. One of them is Sam Alvey, who has found himself pulled into the spotlight again, though for reasons entirely unrelated to Francis's tragic incident. But for now, the MMA community continues to rally behind those affected by this terrible event, offering thoughts, prayers, and respect to both Francis and the family of the young woman whose life was lost. Moving on to the second major story of the day, Jon Jones might be teasing what could be his final fight in the UFC. That's right. After months of silence, speculation, and cryptic hints, it looks like the former light heavyweight king and current heavyweight champion is finally starting to open up about what comes next, and fans are buzzing louder than ever. For a while now, there's been heavy talk about a potential Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall showdown. It's the fight that many believe would truly test Jones at heavyweight, a passing of the torch, or perhaps a reaffirmation of his dominance. Tom Aspinall has made it clear that he wants the fight. Dana White has hinted at it multiple times, and fans have been begging for it. But for the longest time, Jones kept shutting that door, especially after his injury delayed his bout with Stipe Miocic. Many assumed we might never see Jones face off with the younger generation. However, that all might be changing. In a recent social media post, Jones gave fans a rare look into his mindset, and what he shared got everyone talking. He said, "Still haven't framed or hung the Stipe fight yet. Been moving a million miles an hour lately, but there's one last perfect spot left on my wall of victory." The post featured a photo of his wall filled with posters from his most iconic battles, each one representing a different moment in his legendary career. He continued, "This isn't just artwork, it's legacy. Every poster tells a story, different chapters, different homes, different battles, wins that meant the world at the time, fights that made history." That word, legacy, that really stood out, because for someone like Jon Jones, who's already cemented his place in MMA history, legacy is the only thing left to build on. He didn't stop there. He reflected deeply on his journey, saying, "I've said it before, my career has not been perfect, but it's been undeniably legendary. Epic. Special. Just a few words that come to mind: legend after legend, era after era. It's clear Jones is aware of how far he's come, but what surprised many was what he said next. Not about fighting, but about who he's become outside the cage. He said, "What I'm most proud of is how I've evolved. I'm so much more than just a fighter. I'm a man growing stronger in my faith, a family man, a loyal brother to my team, a businessman, a leader, a man for my community, and I know without a doubt that my mother would be proud of the man I've become." And finally, Jones wrapped it all up with a line that's keeping everyone guessing. He said, "The wall's almost filled, but trust me, the story is still being written. The best is yet to come." That one sentence sparked a wildfire of reactions. Some fans believe this means he's going to come back for one last war, possibly against Stipe Miocic. Others are convinced he might actually fight Tom Aspinall, but only if the UFC makes it worth his while financially. After all, Jones did say the fight would have to come with a serious payday, but not everyone is convinced. One fan commented, "He hasn't framed the Stipe picture yet. That means the last picture will be Stipe. That means he's not fighting Tom. That's going to haunt him forever when he gets slept unconscious by Tom and has to see his face on a poster every day." Another added, "His marketing is as good as his fighting." So now the question remains, is Jon Jones just reflecting on his career and preparing to walk away, or is he gearing up for one last epic chapter? Whatever the case, all eyes are on Jones, and the MMA world is waiting for that final announcement. What do you think? Has Jon Jones already made his decision, or is the king just getting ready for his final masterpiece? Let's move on to another major headline that's heating up the MMA world. Balal Muhammad has officially issued a warning to Jack Della Maddalena ahead of their huge clash at UFC 315. While the build-up to their showdown has been respectful so far, Balal just added a lot more fire to the matchup with some bold comments. The welterweight champion is set to make his first title defense on May 10th, live from Montreal, Quebec, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Originally, many fans expected Balal's first defense to come against Shavkat Rakhmonov, the undefeated phenom who's been tearing through the division, but with Shavkat dealing with injuries, the UFC had to shift gears, and instead it's Jack Della Maddalena, commonly referred to as JDM, who got the call to step up to the main event spotlight. JDM has been on an absolute tear. He's riding an impressive 17-fight win streak and has looked sharp in every outing, showcasing elite-level boxing and powerful striking. However, while his finishing ability has made headlines, there are still questions about how he'll handle a 5-round war. That's exactly what Balal is counting on. In a recent interview with Brian Campbell, Balal didn't hold anything back when asked about his thoughts on JDM's fighting style. He said, "With Jack, he could only do one thing. He could only box. He could only strike. That's his only path to victory." Then Balal made it clear that he plans to meet JDM at his own game, stating, "Me? I think I'm going to go in there and outstrike him. And for him, he's not going to have a plan B. That's when the frustration is going to hurt him." Balal continued, digging even deeper into what he sees as JDM's lack of championship experience. He explained, "That's where the inexperience kicks in. He didn't have to go the long road like I did. He didn't have to go through 5-round wars, and it's going to get to that point where he starts drowning, feeling like there's nothing else he can do." For Balal, this isn't just about defending his belt, it's about proving that experience, toughness, and preparation still matter at the highest level. Balal has fought his way to the top through years of grinding, taking on all comers, and learning how to survive and thrive in deep waters. JDM, on the other hand, has mostly finished opponents early and hasn't been pushed into those later rounds. That being said, JDM is far from a pushover. Despite entering this bout as the underdog, his momentum, skill set, and confidence have made him a real threat, and if he does manage to pull off the upset and claim the title, the entire welterweight division could be turned upside down. In fact, Dan Hooker recently spoke on Submission Radio, sharing his thoughts on the potential consequences of a JDM victory. Hooker said, "If JDM wins, 100% Islam Makhachev will go up and fight for the welterweight belt. That's what they're all waiting on. This weekend's result will decide everything before any announcements about Islam or Ilia." That's a bold claim, and one that adds even more intrigue to UFC 315. If JDM becomes champion, Islam Makhachev, the reigning lightweight king, could jump divisions and go for champ status. If he stays at lightweight, then the title picture there becomes clearer, potentially setting up a blockbuster fight against Ilia Topuria, or even a rematch with Charles Oliveira. In short, this isn't just a title fight, it's a pivotal moment that could reshape two divisions and determine the next wave of super fights in the UFC. All eyes now turn to Montreal, where a rising contender meets a battle-hardened champion, and only one walks out with gold. Move on to another news. Arman Zerukian has reportedly turned down a UFC main event fight. That's right, he actually said no to headlining a major UFC event, and the reason behind it is something every fight fan needs to hear. In a recent post-fight interview, Zerukian revealed that the UFC offered him a main event slot in Abu Dhabi this July. A big stage, international crowd, high stakes, but he refused. Why? Because he didn't like the opponent. According to Arman, the UFC wanted to book him against Mateusz Gamrot, but Arman said he simply wasn't interested in taking that fight. Here's what he said, and it was as direct as it gets. They offered me a fight in Abu Dhabi in July, main event, but I turned it down because they offered me an opponent I didn't want to fight. He is below me in the rankings, so I didn't see any reason to fight him. In MMA, I see no reason to fight just for money. I need to fight a top 5 or a top 6 opponent at the very least to make sure my next fight will be for the title. I am the #1 contender. Why would I give such a gift to a guy who's ranked number 10? Nobody did that for me when I made it to the top 10. I fought top 9, top 8, top 7, top 5, top 4 before I became #1. I don't want to put my spot on the line for free. Now that's a powerful statement. Zerukian is not just turning down a fight, he's laying down the law. He believes he's earned his spot at the top, and he's not willing to risk that momentum by fighting someone outside the top 5, even if it's in a main event, especially not against someone like Mateusz Gamrot, who's currently ranked lower but still extremely dangerous. To understand where Zerukian is coming from, you have to look at his journey. He's worked his way up by fighting higher ranked opponents again and again. He's not just another hype train, he's proven himself. And now that he's in the #1 contender position, he's demanding that the UFC treat him like it. To him, a fight against Gamrot, who's ranked number 10, that doesn't move him forward. It only puts his title shot at risk. And let's be real, he's got a point. One bad night against someone ranked lower, and everything he's worked for could disappear. Meanwhile, the lower ranked fighter gets a huge leap in the rankings. Zerukian sees that as unfair, especially since, as he mentioned, nobody ever gave him that opportunity when he was climbing the ladder. But on the flip side, some fans are criticizing the decision, saying fighters should always stay active, especially in such a stacked division like lightweight. Others believe that turning down fights, even for logical reasons, can slow down momentum and frustrate UFC matchmakers. Still, Zerukian isn't just focused on money or visibility. He wants to secure a title shot, and he's being strategic about how he gets there. He's not interested in protecting his record. He's protecting the value of the position he's earned. What do you think? Was this a smart move from Arman Zerukian? Or do you think he should have accepted the fight against Gamrot and stayed active? This situation is sure to spark some debate among fight fans, and we want to hear your opinion. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Now let's shift gears to a new and exciting rumor that's got the MMA world buzzing. According to former UFC title contender and fight analyst Chael Sonnen, the next big lightweight matchup might not be what fans expected. Instead of the much anticipated Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria showdown, Sonnen claims we're getting something very different. Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. Yes, you heard that right. According to the American Gangster, the dream matchup between Islam and Ilia is off the table, at least for now. Sonnen says Islam has already made up his mind and is headed in a completely different direction. And while fans have been begging for Topuria to get his shot at lightweight gold, it appears that Islam and his team just aren't interested. Chael didn't stop there. He flat out stated that Topuria versus Oliveira is far more likely to happen next, and might even be locked in behind the scenes. Of course, fans know Chael loves to stir the pot. He's known for saying controversial things and getting conversations started, so his claims always come with a grain of salt. But this time, there might actually be some truth behind the talk. For starters, Ilia Topuria himself has confirmed that he will be fighting at UFC 317 in June. He hasn't revealed his opponent yet, but if we take Chael at his word, it could very well be Do Bronx Charles Oliveira. That alone gives the rumor some weight, but there's more. In recent weeks, Charles Oliveira has been doing a lot of media. He's been talking about potential matchups, making bold statements, and generally staying in the spotlight. When fighters do that, it usually means something is brewing behind the scenes. And one name Charles has brought up multiple times? Ilia Topuria. Even more interesting is Ilia's known tendency to hold grudges. He doesn't forget when someone calls him out or talks trash, and Charles has definitely thrown some shade in recent weeks. That kind of tension could turn this matchup into a truly personal fight with all the intensity and drama that fans love. And make no mistake, if these two do end up inside the cage together, expect fireworks. Topuria is undefeated, dangerous, and explosive. Oliveira is a finishing machine with the most submission wins in UFC history. Stylistically, it's a fight that promises chaos, and that's exactly what makes it so exciting. Still, there's a big part of the fan base that hasn't given up on Islam versus Ilia. That matchup has been billed as one for the ages. It's a clash of styles, personalities, and legacies. Fans believe it's the fight the sport needs, and it could define the lightweight division for years to come. But Chael Sonnen doesn't think it's going to happen, not anytime soon at least. He emphasized this point strongly. You need to understand this. Islam is not going to fight Ilia, and there's one reason why. Islam's had 4 opportunities, plus his manager, plus Khabib. That's 6 people speaking for Islam, and all of them said the same thing. I am not going to face Ilia because he hasn't proven himself at 155. Chael called out what he sees as hypocrisy, pointing out that Islam himself wants to move up to 170 and challenge for the welterweight belt. So how can someone at 170 say to him, "I'm not going to face you because you haven't proven yourself"? He asked. You see the problem? Chael ended with a warning. You're dealing with a bunch of nice guys right now, but you better understand the politics and the time frame, because one day Mr. Nice is gonna get up and walk out of the room, and it's coming. So whether it's Topuria versus Oliveira, or the long-awaited Islam versus Ilia, one thing's for sure. The lightweight division is heating up, and the next few months could decide the future of the sport.